I mean, I agree with the problems, okay, about the fact that we don't manufacture and that there is a problem with that. But there's a structural problem of whether we can manufacture. We have a population that basically 3 million people, 1% of the population, is incredibly brilliant. I mean, they go to the best schools, they come out, they make the unicorns, inventiveness, half of which, by the way, are foreigners. And at the same time, they are making the unicorns. At the same time, what we have is 10% of the population around them that's doing very well. The 60% of the population has below a sixth grade reading level. And it's tough to be productive.
Hey, what's going up, bull runners? Welcome back to the channel where we uncover what's really moving the markets. Imagine this. You wake up, you check your portfolio, and something wild is happening. Prices are spiking, headlines are buzzing, but no one's telling you why. It's like the markets are whispering secrets and you're stuck guessing. Sound familiar? Well, today I'm pulling back the curtain. We've got XRP skyrocketing over 13% overnight. Yes, 13%. And Trump shaking things up with tariffs that could flip the crypto game upside down. But here's the thing. These aren't just random blips. These moves could signal massive wins or traps for your wallet, and you don't have the time to waste figuring it out alone. The markets move fast, too fast, and if you blink, you might miss the next big opportunity. So stick with me for the next few minutes. I'll break down everything in plain English, why XRP is pumping, what Trump's tariff twists means for your coins, and a couple of bonus headlines that you won't see coming. Plus, here's the kicker. Hang out until the end. I'll give you a sneak peek of our Altcoin Pro University community where everyday folks like you are stacking wins while the market flips. Plus, we will be heading over to X to find out all the breaking news that's happening in the crypto world today. We will take a look at XRP in the charts, and we'll also take a look at our short-term and long-term momentum waves. Do we see potential continuation to the upside? And we'll also look at our upcoming resistance and support levels. And so much more coming for you today. So if you're like most people where you don't have the opportunity to spend hours a day in the crypto news and the markets, make sure you subscribe because that's what we do and bring it to you every single day. And if you're feeling bullish about this current bull run, let me know by commenting 777 down below. Before we get into our main headlines about XRP spiking to the upside and Trump's 90-day tariff pause, and we're also going to be talking about the boosting of China's tariffs. And we'll also dive into the important Ripple XRP metric just hit an all-time high. But before hitting all of that amazing news that's out there, first, let's take a look at the health of the overall crypto market here on CoinMarketCap. Right now, we're coming in at a $2.63 trillion total market cap, which is a great move to the upside, 8.57%. As we zoom out on the total market cap, you can see right here at $2.4 trillion, looks like a great support for crypto. Obviously, if we don't continue this move to the upside, we very likely could continue to drop. But we're looking for that reclaiming of the $3 trillion mark. We have not been above $3 trillion since March 2nd, 2025. Fear and Greed Index coming in at 15. Could we ultimately be bottoming out finally on fear and greed? Yesterday was at 19, today even lower. As we can see in this red category here, this is giving us a double bottom, which came in from March 10th, 2025, if we can continue to make this pump to the upside. Altcoin season index taking a one tick to the upside, currently sitting at 18. As you can see down here, we've been trading sideways between 14, 15, 16, 17. We have not broke above this 25 level since February 24th. So we are still full on Bitcoin season. Bitcoin dominance coming in at 62.5%. And checking out our ETF tracker, we have not had this horrible of a day for Bitcoin outflow for the ETFs. We had minus $326 million. We haven't had a day like that since $371 million back on March 10th. When we zoom out on this and we take a look at how the last couple of weeks were going, March 15th, the week of, was a $627 million to the upside. The next week started to drop 196 to the upside. And then we started getting negative again. Last week, $166 million to the downside outflows. And already this week, minus $429 million. Obviously, we'll see that turnaround on tomorrow's report. We'll make sure to bring that to you. Don't forget to subscribe. And checking in on our top 5 cryptos by total market cap, Bitcoin number 1 at 1.6 trillion, Ethereum breaking back above $200 billion at number 2, Tether at 143 billion, XRP coming in at 119 billion, BNB number 5 at 83 billion, and Solana coming in at number 6, 61 billion. And we do cover that because Tether is a stablecoin. Heading over to X to find out what is happening, CoinDesk posting there is really a battle inside of crypto that hasn't quite broken out yet between old coins and the new coins. Brad Sherman warns at financial committee hearings on digital assets. He says what will be the undoing of crypto is more crypto. Interesting take.
There is really a battle inside crypto that hasn't quite broken out yet between the old coins and the new coins. And most of our testimony here is in favor of making it easier to create new coins. I think that what will be the undoing of crypto is more crypto. And I'm on the side of the new coins versus the old coins, although we really should have people investing in businesses that employ people and build things in the United States.
So interesting take there by Brad Sherman talking about old coins he prefers over new coins, when in reality the Dino coins have been doing absolutely great, and the crazy meme coin craze launch on Pump Fund was the potential end of the bull run just a couple of months ago. And here's an interesting take as far as the tariffs go. What happened as far as the markets are happening now? Basically, a guy reported fake news. If you remember this 2 days ago, a guy reported fake news that was actually real news. All the world finance ate the news and added $2.5 trillion to the market. News reported as fake, so everyone dumped. Japanese banks blow out.
April 15th, 2025. This is a huge date because it's the deadline for 2 high-paying tax credits that you probably haven't heard about, but you can still get if you take action right now. We've partnered with the relief consultants who are experts in the tax code who've recovered over $100 million for their clients so far. So if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, listen up so we can get you help and reach our goal of recovering $10 million for the Bull Runners community before the April 15th deadline. So here's how it works. If you're a business owner who had employees in 2021, then you qualify for an average $150,000 check from the Treasury and possibly more with the Employee Retention Credit Program. So if you were told in the past that you don't qualify, get a second opinion now through the link in the description below this video, because there are rules and regulations that have changed just recently. So there's a high likelihood that you do qualify now. And if you sold your business or you shut it down, you still qualify as long as you were active in 2021. So don't miss out. Schedule an appointment with the link below. Just click business owner with employees if it applies to you. There's also a second tax credit that also ends April 15th. So this is for the bull runners who are self-employed in 2021. So if you were a 1099, not W-2, and self-employment was your primary income, the Treasury check for this tax credit can go up to $32,220 with an average of $17,000. So if you were self-employed in 2021 and want to see if you haven't claimed this credit, which nobody has from our community thus far for some strange reason. We've been talking about this in several videos. I don't know, man. Maybe you just want the Treasury to keep your money. But if you want to get money back in your pocket, then schedule a consultation. Don't be lazy. Do this right now before April 15th through the link below. Just click self-employed if you think you qualify for both credits. Let the rep know on the call. And by the way, if you have your tax returns from 2020 and 2021 for this credit, it will be a faster turnaround for you. So have them ready on your call, and they can literally tell you if you qualify on your first call to get you paid. So if you need more money back in your pocket for this bull run, take action right now, click the link, and let's get you paid.
Donald Trump reports that the previous fake news again, but it's time to reveal as real news. All of the world finance is sidelined and apes the news that adds $4 trillion to the market in an hour. So basically, finance is just meme coins with suits. So to kind of break this down for you, here's the S&P 500 on the daily charts. Now, if you remember 2 days ago, there was news that came out. So obviously, we've been crashing. 2 days, news comes out that there's going to be a pause on tariffs. And then the market pumped to the moon, right? Really, it really surged quite a bit. In fact, it continues surging into the next day. And then unfortunately, Trump tweeted out, no, that's fake news. That's not happening. We're not going to give up tariffs on anybody. Boom, market crashes back the next day. And then, of course, today, Trump comes out and announces that we're doing a 90-day pause on tariffs on every country except for China. And then, of course, he's also giving a 10% tariff to everyone. He's not giving zero tariffs to everyone, just pausing, though. And the absolute moonshot to the upside. People are calling it the largest day in the history of the stock market for the indexes. You got S&P 500, the NASDAQ also moon to the upside, and also US 30, aka the Dow Jones. And as we take a look here at Bitcoin, same scenario here. Markets crashing. Trump's fake news is leaked. Market pumps. Next day, Trump says it's not real. And then the next day, Trump does the real pause. And as you can see, pumping to the upside. And as you guys saw in the intro, Ray Dalio, legendary hedge fund manager, drops major alpha on what's happening right now with this tariff strategy. And this was one of the best posts I've seen in quite some time as far as breaking down the global currency reset, no longer a theory, coming from 589 Bull. So let's take a look at what this is. He says, here are the key signals you won't see on CNBC that prove it's happening in real time. And this is a pretty in-depth thread, so I'm going to cover it all for us here. Iraq is the tip of the spear, he says. $200 billion budget stalled pending exchange rate change. JP Morgan embedded in Iraq's banking system. CBI coordinating with IMF and U.S. Treasury. That's the Central Bank of Iraq. Northern oil talks delayed, likely stalling for final rate alignment. And then real-time banking reforms plus global trade integration. The RV is real. It's being timed. The next step is Vietnam buckles under the pressure. Trump's hit with 46% tariff threat. Vietnam begs for a 45-day delay, vows to buy U.S. good, review currency policy and correct foreign exchange manipulation. Major manufacturing hub forced into monetary realignment, currency correction underway. And then, of course, our main competitor to the U.S. dollar, which is BRICS, and BRICS is de-dollarization escalating. 40 plus nations applying for BRICS, gold-backed settlement currency being tested, petrodollar system collapsing, bilateral trade is native currencies accelerating, dollar dominance is fading fast. And if we pull up the dollars, the Dixie is what it's called on the charts here, as we can see recently we did peak out at $110 and we have now surged all the way down on the daily charts to, in fact, it's really interesting. It's tapped back off of our 1100 exponential moving average on the daily chart here at about $102. So that's an $8 swing to the downside over the last couple of weeks. He goes on, the U.S. moves to reset the playing field. Executive Order 14178 protects digital assets and mandates financial modernization. The DOJ ends regulation by prosecution, and we talked about that yesterday. IRS chief resigns after immigration data sharing agreement, the CFTC and the SEC being stripped of shadow power, the deep state's monetary grip is being broken. Then tokenized infrastructure going live. Ripple acquires Hidden Road, a $3 trillion annual clearing volume. RLUSD stablecoin equals institutional grade collateral. ISO 222 is now global. XRP, XDC, Stellar, embedded in real pilots, not test nets. The new rails aren't being built. They're already here. And if you remember, we had this Hidden Road chat and David Schwartz talking about the payment rails that they're going on, and the new rails aren't being built. They're already here. XRP. Sovereign debt equals quietly restructured. You know, right now we are also trying to restructure our debt. Zimbabwe, Ghana, Sri Lanka working with the International Monetary Fund. Zimbabwe gold bonds being tested. Talk of redemption, project funding, and historical instruments surfacing quietly. The old debt system is being dissolved behind closed doors. And if you've been tracking with us and watching the news every single day on this channel, make sure you subscribe if you haven't. These are articles we've been covering over time as well. And this gentleman just put it all in a simple, easy to read format here. He goes on, tariffs equal currency war in disguise. DHS via CBP, which would be the Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Patrol, collects U.S. tariffs equals national security weapon. South Korea, Mexico, Japan, and Vietnam all negotiating new trade deals under pressure. Trump's economic war equals realignment through force. Bilateral leverage replaces globalist frameworks. Market pain equals controlled transition. Stocks bleeding slowly, gold surging, institutional liquidity migrating to on-chain assets, real-world assets, as we've continued to talk about, global capital quietly repositioning. This isn't a collapse. It's a planned demolition. Now, here's what's really interesting about this strategy, right? We talked for years, a lot of people, if you've ever heard of the Federal Reserve and how the fact that it's, a conspiracy theory, this, that, and the other. But the reality is, this is a potential way of shifting off of the Federal Reserve, right? We have, for example, a bunch of gold coming back into the United States. They're talking about auditing the Federal Reserve. They're talking about auditing Fort Knox. They're talking about potentially bringing the dollar back to a gold-backed asset. But also, there's talks of putting it all on the blockchain, and we continue to see this happening. Even the SEC is talking about it. So a really great thread there by 589bull. Give him a follow over on X. And to go along with that, like we talked about just the other day, with the DOJ disbanding its crypto unit, announcing that they won't act as a de facto regulator anymore. And here's that post from David Schwartz. The prime broker clears upwards of 10 billion and processes 50 million transactions on various traditional rails, waiting for up to 24 hours for these transactions to settle. Now imagine even a portion of that activity on the XRP ledger. And then speaking of the XRP ledger, what metric just hit an all-time high? Ali Martinez estimated that the XRP network is growing stronger as a number of addresses holding at least one token has reached an all-time high of 6.26 million. The figure stood at less than 6.23 million at the end of March. The development signals increased adoption and growing interest in the cryptocurrency. The metric's rise could also reflect confidence among investors and hint that more individuals and entities are accumulating XRP, possibly in anticipation of future price increases. Now, as you guys all know, if you've been watching and following along our channel, we were the #1 XRP channel in the world as far as coverage goes. In fact, we were one of the only channels that was even covering XRP besides like 4 or 5 other people. And now, if you search XRP, there's like 20, 30 educators talking about XRP. And why is that? Because people are finally starting to catch on. The more people that spread the word, the better. We call them crypto evangelists, right? You want to be out there and telling everyone about crypto because we're talking about adoption and we don't want people being left behind. Even if they have a little piece and overnight, if it goes to $1,000, $10,000 a coin, and they had 20 bucks worth, now they're still looking healthy, right? So we want to make sure that we bring along our people. Of course, this is not financial advice. Do not buy or sell anything as we talk about on this channel. This is what I'm talking about. We want to just spread the word, spread the education. This is for educational purposes only. You can also educate people as well. Recently, the British multinational bank Standard Chartered predicted that the price of Ripple's cross-border token could soar to $5.50 this year and a whopping $12.50 by 2028. Standard Chartered suggested that the potential approval of XRP exchange-traded funds, ETFs, while the Republican remains in power, Donald Trump as a fact of a key driving force. And as I'm sure you all know now, Trump does pause some of the tariffs. The U.S. stock market surged today following the announcement of a 90-day pause on tariffs for certain countries. He said that he would raise China's levy, though, to 125%. So there's definitely a war battling between him and President Xi of China. The president also said he would increase the reciprocal tariffs on China to 125% due to the country's counter tariffs against Trump. But if you're not aware, China came out and said they were doing 84% tariffs against the United States. So then Trump responded with, now we're going to 125 points. And he says here, Trump does, at some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. On the other countries, reciprocal tariffs are lowered to the tariff rate of 10%. Capital markets are currently experiencing extraordinary high volatility. The stock market wiped away trillions of dollars in shareholders' value within days of Trump signing the reciprocal tariff order, only for the pendulum to swing back the other way every time a pause on the tariffs was announced or Trump walked back the historic rhetoric. The volatility index, a measure of the S&P 500 stock market index volatility, broke above 60% on April 7th, the highest level since unwinding of the yen carry trade in August of 2024. So here we see August 2024. That was when the Japanese yen carry trade was unwinding there. And when this article came out just a few minutes ago, the VIX had dropped to 37.5, which still signals extreme market volatility despite a dramatic drop in the last 2 days. BitMEX founder and market analyst Arthur Hayes recently predicted that the devaluation of the Chinese yuan as a response to the Trump administration's trade tariffs could spark capital flight into crypto. And that hasn't even started taking place yet. Today's pump is only on the news. And speaking of some other news, we talked about the US dollar. This is a big deal here. The US dollar falls close to the levels that followed by a 500% Bitcoin price rally. Bitcoin rallied 500% to 1,367% when the dollar dropped to 100. Will history repeat itself? Well, we were just taking a look at the Dixie here on the charts, and we're at 102. We're very, very close to 100. And as we take a look at the weekly chart of the Dixie, speaking of the price dropping to 100, the last time price dropped to 100 was on the week of September 30th. So September, then October, November, the dollar started cranking to the upside. And as we take a look at Bitcoin, the week of September 30th is right. So the dollar retraced to the Dixie retraced to the 100 level, and boom, it started to make a huge push to the upside. Well, that same week, Bitcoin had started its surge, retested off the 10 exponential moving average, and it surged to the upside as well. So are we looking at a correlation here with Bitcoin about to start pumping to the upside? With Dixie dumping to nearly 100, we're sitting at 101.30 is the shortest that it got to. That was the week of March 31st. Is China working to weaken the dollar? Well, China's central bank has instructed state-owned lenders to reduce dollar purchases as the yuan faces significant downside pressure. Large banks were told to step up checks when executing dollar purchases. Some analysts have speculated whether China might be attempting to weaken the dollar in response to U.S. import tariffs. Dixie below 100 is usually followed by Bitcoin bull runs. The last time the Dixie fell below 100 was June 2020, a period that coincided with the Bitcoin bull run. We also saw that it got exactly to 100, and that coincided with our last potential beginning of this bull run. A weaker dollar has a dual negative impact on the economy. It tends to slow consumption as imports become more expensive, and it simultaneously reduces tax revenues from the internal earnings of US-based companies. For example, more than 49% of revenues for major corporations like Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Visa, Meta come from outside the US. Similarly, companies such as Google, Nvidia derive an estimated 35% or more of their revenues internationally. So as we see Bitcoin pump, everything's pumping in the market, but let's take a look here. XRP is also pumping in the market. XRP trading above the $2 level after Trump announced a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs. XRP's rally comes on the heels of additional positive news that the XRP ETF being launched on New York Stock Exchange ARCA. Despite the positive macroeconomic and TradFi crypto adoption news, XRP charts still caution that a sharp price decrease could lie ahead. We did cover this a couple of weeks ago on this because this has been going on for quite some time, the development of this triangle pattern. The price dropped below the triangle support line at $2 on April 6th, confirming the potential breakdown move. In this case, the price may fall toward the downside target of around $1.20 by the end of April, down 33% from the current price levels. So is this new pump to the upside just a fake pump? Like if we look at the markets here, if we remember right in this level here in March, and we had that crazy shoot to the upside, that's when Trump had announced that XRP, Cardano, and Solana were going to be in the crypto reserve. And then, of course, a couple hours later, he came out and mentioned that Bitcoin and Ethereum would be in there. But that was that huge surge to the upside. And then we had this crazy sell-off the next exact day. So unfortunately, right now, as we follow this resistance line of this triangle, we're just continuing to get lower highs. And we are in bearish market structure, especially now after breaking this level. Now, interestingly enough, we did break back above that today. And we talked about this yesterday. We really need to see ourselves break back above $2.25 to get into a new higher high to change market structure to the positive side. Could the XRP ETF launch avert the XRP price sell-off? Well, here's the thing, guys. We know that something similar to this, any news, positive news that comes out about XRP does not matter. All of the markets move together. There is no decoupling of XRP from Bitcoin yet, unfortunately. So the XXRP ETF attracts $5 million in the first day of volume, which is a commendable achievement considering the ongoing tumult of the crypto global markets. Although this was 200x less than the volume posted by BlackRock's IBIT ETF on day one, this performance puts XXRP in the top 5 of new ETF launches. All right, so let's take a look at XRP in the chart. So right now we are on the weekly chart, and I'm actually got the 3-day spider lines chart pulled up, and that is going to be based off of 3-day candles, Heikinashi, and we do use logarithmic for this. And then what we do is we take the downside move from 2018 when we had the price drop after our super surge to the upside, and we draw a ray. And so you can go up into the charting tools and you're going to find the ray option here. And then you're going to connect a ray to the top of the candle. And then you're going to connect it to our pivot point right here on April 13th of 2021. That was the high of April. So this one is a new pivot point that we're drawing here, a new ray. This one comes from the starting point of March 5th, 2018. And let's see where that gets us into the future here. We'll follow along, and that is going to be one of our new higher price targets, which is great, to the upside. So now that we've got this one shot into the future, let's change the color so we can see it and makes a difference. We'll go ahead and turn logarithmic off, and then we'll just go into present day where we're trading at, and then also switch back to regular candles. So that's how we determine these spider lines. All right. So this is on the 3-day charts. And as you can see here, price did have this crazy liquidity drop here on the 3-day charts. The 3-day candle has officially ended just now. We had this price drop to here, but look at where the body of this candle is. This is actually on exactly one of our spider lines here. And this spider line comes to us. We didn't date this one from January 16th, 2018. So let's go ahead and January 16th, 2018. And we have that one targeted there. All right. So that is where we're sitting at right now. That's where price bounced off of as a body, which is crazy, right? I mean, we've got the wicks to the downside, but the body of it lines up. Now, when we switch to the daily candles, we can see that this candle yesterday on the dip bounced exactly off of another one of our spider lines here, $1.72. So anyway, I'm just showing you this real quick because that's what we're using for support and resistance. But what's developing in the charts? Well, on the daily charts, we have this descending channel definitely developing here. We had the quick liquidity spike to the downside, bounced right back in there. So bodies all closing within these support levels and resistance levels. And in fact, as we can see, yesterday's candle broke above the 10 exponential moving average, body closed, which is very positive. But today we're starting to the downside just a little bit. And this is not looking good if we continue down because of the fact that we could potentially break out of this descending channel here. And if we break out of that, our next level of support is at $2.25. Then we have another level of support at $2.41. And then we have another level of support at $2.58. So there is going to be some pretty strong resistance coming along the way of spider lines, but we also have resistance coming in the way of a 30 exponential moving average, which is trading at $2.70. And we also have the 50 exponential moving average at $2.52. So that's positive news on that front, right? We can break out of this downward trend that we're in on the daily, which would be fantastic. Also, good news. Our short-term momentum wave, the shaft trend cycle, has broken from the 0 level on its way up to the 100 level. As we can see, last time it broke up, we had a nice move and it continued moving up. Right now, we have started that move and it's just getting started. So in reality, there is some positive confirmation that we should continue to the upside, unless, of course, Trump tweets out something crazy and wild. Now, the other thing that we have going on right now is our long-term momentum indicator, unfortunately, is still showing us bearish. We are on the wolf pack under the 0 line, meaning that we are not bullish here yet. So let's check a smaller time frame. Let's check the 12-hour 12 hours still also bearish, very far away. Our 12-hour short-term momentum, though, turning to the upside, looking good. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. 4-hour is tracking nicely to the upside, and it's very close to the zero line. So there is a potential move here where on the 4-hour charts, we turn bullish, and essentially it's at the right time and place in the chart. So right now, what we could see happening is our shaft trend cycle is getting to the upside. At the exact time we're running into a resistance on our descending channel here, this could definitely do a reset while this continues to make its move up. Price trades sideways. We retest off of this blue line here, which will come out to this way, and then we can move up to the next level. That is the optimistic side that I'm looking at. However, right now, we do not have confirmation that we broke above that level. So we are still bearish. You can see last time we broke above it, but with zero volume, then we immediately fell to the downside with our short-term momentum and long-term momentum dropping to the downside. So we have to see this move to the upside with some good momentum surging to the upside, like we saw right here on the 1 hour. So you can take a look on this smaller time frame. The 1 hour really got bullish for us. Short-term momentum traded sideways for a good time for us here as well. So a lot of things were going good during this push to the upside. Now, what's really interesting that I don't like, and you guys know I talk about it all the time, is a fair value gap is a significant negative thing for us, right? So right now there is this massive fair value gap that essentially would retrace all of the gains. Let's go ahead and turn our fair value gap indicator here. And you can see right here on the 60-minute time frame, there's a fair value gap here, 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 and here. Now on the way up though, which is also interesting, as you can see when it was dropping to the downside, it was leaving these fair value gaps, and look at exactly where price went. Boom, boom, boom. Sucked up into these areas of liquidity. Now, what's also really positive on the 1 hour charts, dang, this is actually really good news. As we take a look here, there is no red to the downside except for the fact of where we need to go fill in this fair value gap that just got left behind. But look at all of these fair value gaps all the way back up to $2.83. Looking good. Let's look here on a larger time frame, the 4 hour. So the 4 hour also has fair value gaps that coincide with the spider lines, which is interesting. There's also one here, and then our top one is right here. Last time we had one just stranded out by itself. Look at exactly where price went to. So you can go research and study fair value gaps. It's definitely a good one. So look at right here. When price started to drop from this $3 level, it dropped all the way down and stopped right off of one of our spider lines here at 225 before ultimately breaking back down. But look at when the Trump announcement about the crypto reserve, the strategic reserve happened, it literally went and wicked exactly into the tippity top of that fair value gap, cleared it out, liquidity swiped, and then moved right back down. So we do have some good news because there is a fair value gap that still needs to be filled up here at 283. And there are some negative ones as well. So there's some downside 4 hour fair value gaps. There's one down here at $1.50. There's one here at 93 cents, 84 cents. And then when we look at the daily charts, same scenario. There's fair value gaps down here at $1.85, 94 cents, and then quite a few of them. I mean, there's even, these are not happening 5 cents, right? I mean, no, we're not, that's from way back in the day, fair value gaps. Look at this. These are fair value gaps that come all the way back from May of 2017. Price just ran away too fast, right? And left fair value gaps. Even look at this one. I bet no one ever thought that this one right here, the December 12th, 2017, the start of the first ever bull run for XRP, no one ever thought I was coming back to fill this spot right here, this fair value gap. And look at this. When we look at the price, fair value gaps right here, and then look at that. Bam. It cleared it out exactly, and then made it run back up. It started going back up, and it came and cleared it even more. Even look at this one. It didn't actually clear, but there's a fair value gap down here at 10 cents, and it came real close there. It is incredible how this works. So I'm just covering this. I know this is a pretty extensive overview of fair value gaps, but go research it. Go check it out. See if it helps you in your trading. I do not like the fact that all these fair value gaps are to the downside on the daily. We have a gnarly one on the weekly. Look at this. This weekly gets us all the way back to the starting point of the run, basically 62 cents. From $1.05 to 62 cents, there's a massive fair value gap there. So maybe one day after we hit $1,000, we have a black swan. Who knows? But right now, spider lines are doing well. We do have to continue to maintain this $1.92 as support. This is okay. We had this crazy wick to the downside, but body-wise, we're still looking good. We are now in a descending channel that we need to break back to the upside and run up to this resistance level, 225. It's a fair value gap as well. Then we have another one right here, spider line, 240, fair value gap as well, 252. And then also taking a look at that blue line that we talked about at the beginning of this charting portion. That's where price got up to and couldn't hold that level and fell back down. So by the time we get back up there, let's say it takes us till the end of April, that's about a $3.11 XRP.
Hey, bull runners, check this out. If you want to learn how to find the next 10x, 50x, or even 100x altcoin in this video, listen to this. Our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1 and it's currently still up over 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. And the bull run is just getting started. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University. Just go through the link in the description below, get in right now, watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers,